for the person listening, don't just ask, how do I get more freedom? Ask, am I becoming the kind of person who can handle the freedom I'm asking for? Am I becoming the kind of person who can handle the freedom I'm asking for? You know, I mean, going from the military, structured, you have to wake up, you have to report to somebody for muster. You are not only responsible to people, but you're responsible for people. Not only are you having to stay in, peak physical condition, but you can't go get DUIs, or you can't go do drugs because you're about to get tested.
All right, welcome back. We are joined by another guest who built the kind of resume that most operators only get to dream about. Super excited for this one today, guys. He's a real estate investor, an educator, best-selling author, speaker, high-performance coach, 15-year U.S. Navy veteran, walked away from the Navy 5 years, guys, listen, 5 years before his pension was supposed to hit, because by then he had already engineered the kind of passive income that made really essentially his pension worthless for the most part. Senior managing partner at Kelly Housing Group, owns, controls, and has directly been involved in nearly 2,000 income producing units, apartment communities, mobile home parks, RV parks, storage units, you name them. Number one best-selling co-author of Military House Hacking, board of directors at Active Duty Passive Income, helping the men and women who serve or who swore to protect this country actually own a piece of it. Certified command financial specialist who taught hundreds of sailors and Marines how to build wealth while still in the uniform. He's also authored books on credit, home buying, and the mindset behind real success, guys. So please pay attention to this episode. We're going to go some real cool things, and I'm super stoked for this. Bachelor's in organizational management from Ashford University, Ironman finisher, summited Mount Kilimanjaro. Yeah, what? I always screw this name up. Kilimanjaro. I know I screwed that up again. He's a drummer, scuba diver, currently married, and lives right up the road from me in Tampa Bay. We're just jamming on that in the green room before we hit the record. This man's resume reads like a high-performance dream whose mission today is to help other operators build the exact same thing. Tim Kelly, my dude, welcome to the show, my man.
Man, what an intro, Karl. It's my pleasure. Let's get into it. Let's get into the good stuff.
Yeah, man.
I'm ready, man. You know, I'm an open book. I don't know, an open book, bro. So let's dive in.
Yeah, man. Love it, dude. Yeah, we've had 2 calls already, right? And it's been great conversation. I'm so glad that we're somewhat local and we can jam out more. So yeah, let's dive in. Tim, before the empire, man, in the life you get to live today, you're a kid that dropped out of college and signed up for the Navy, right? So take us back there. Paint us that picture. Who was that version of you the week before you signed the paperwork? You raised your right hand and you went down that road. Like, what was that picture you thought you were stepping into?
Yeah, no, man, I would be glad to. I'll try to keep this short. My entire life has been like a series of identity transitions, and I think a lot of people go through those seasons. But
yes,
I was really just like a confused kid, right outside of Chicago. Grew up in the suburbs right outside of Chicago, and failed out of college because some inside of me was like, "This is not for me. I just don't want to do this." I just wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't aligned with the whole idea of go to school, get a degree, get a job, just work really, really hard for another company, and then you'll find success. Like, that just didn't resonate with me, even though our whole entire school system is structured to convince you that is the success idea. And I think people are getting smart these days, and I think they know it's not. But that was, in 2005 is when I joined the Navy. I graduated high school in 2002 and went right into college, failed, had a couple different jobs. And like serving, and I was also a drummer in a band. I thought at one point I was going to be playing music for my whole life, and And so I went from really a confused kid, grew up outside of Chicago, dropped out of college, and then I just, joined the Navy. I became a rescue swimmer in the Navy. Nice. And then I was embodying like the whole mantra of so others may live. And then I went, 10 years in, I realized, dude, I don't know if I want to do another 10 years of deployments and leaving my family just to get this pension. And so I knew there was more out there. And so that's when God led me into real estate. And I ended up partnering with other service members to buy apartment buildings and mobile home parks and other commercial assets. And did that for a few years. It was a lot more fun, a lot more lucrative. Nice. And that's also when I connected with the founders and the co-founders and now my partners at Active Duty Passive Income, where we're helping, past and present service members and their families create wealth and financial freedom by owning more of America, the land that they sort of protect. But then I got out and I realized, I didn't want to do another 10 years. I did investing, building the Active Duty Passive Income. I got out at 15 and a half years. And that was bold, right?
Yeah, it is, man. I know we talked about that. That's crazy.
Then I went to building wealth and I had all this freedom through real estate. And then I realized freedom means nothing if you don't have the responsibility and purpose to handle that level of freedom.
So
Karl,
good.
I went down a dark path. I didn't have the same level of freedom. I didn't have enough responsibility to handle the level of freedom that I have. And then I went down a dark path. I just over the last year recovered from that, built even more freedom because now I'm doing this in God's will, not for my own selfish desires. Met the right woman. She's on my side. She's my partner. She's my angel from heaven. And now we're building it together. But man,
that's awesome, dude. That's a huge, heartwarming story that I think a ton of people can resonate with. Not only because of the dream that too many people get sold, right? Of going to school, and work a 40, 50, 60 hour plus job and that's the life, right? But I know, just before we hit record, you're talking about just, things have changed since we last talked. When we had our pre-booking call, man, you were talking about how, so many hours have been freed up. I forget the quantity every week, man. I'm just like, dude, this is so amazing. I can feel your happiness. I can feel your enthusiasm because I can really sense that you're passionate about this. And this really drives the point home, and that when you're passionate about this and you're really following the path that's been laid out for you, man, it is so much more rewarding. It's so much more fulfilling. And everybody benefits, right? And, man, we're already giving some knowledge bombs, man. We're like, 5 minutes into the show already? But so you mentioned that you just got over this darkness. I definitely want to get into this because you threw it out there already, right? You had a massive amount of freedom to enjoy, but it also led to the pretty much the darkest time of your life. So, let's dive into that. What was this cascade of events? Let's walk into that journey, man.
So, just to really recapture, I learned the hard way that more freedom doesn't automatically make your life better.
Agree.
So financial freedom and time freedom is not just about escaping work, Karl.
Yes, agree wholeheartedly.
It's about becoming responsible enough to use that freedom well. Right?
Say that again, because I want you to say it to the person out there that is actually thinking you're crazy right now, because a lot of people are listening to you right now. And there's a portion of my brain that's like trying to wig out, because a lot of people just heard you like you're high, because they're thinking the exact same thing. Right? So tell them again, but help them understand why, right? Give them the why behind why it actually takes more responsibility, it takes more discipline to actually to have that kind of freedom.
For the person listening, don't just ask, how do I get more freedom? Ask, am I becoming the kind of person who can handle the freedom I'm asking for? Am I becoming the kind of person who can handle the freedom I'm asking for? Okay.
Wow.
When this is kind of like maybe a more relatable idea, but like when that person at retirement age, the typical retirement age, 59 and a half, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done working. Now I have maybe enough of a nest egg where I could just withdraw 4% of, my couple 100,000 until I die. And hopefully that will last until I perish, and then they just sit on a porch in a rocking chair with whether they are drinking a tea and smoking a cigar, or whether they're drinking a beer and smoking cigarette, like whatever they're doing, that does not last very long.
Agree. But that's been the pipe. That's the pipe dream that so many people are sold. And that's the illusion. So many people, and myself included, I actually had that illusion for a long time. Like there's supposed to be some type of destination, right, that we get to where we're coasting there, for however many years until we expire, until we lose these blue marble. But you're saying, which I agree wholeheartedly, especially in this season of life that I'm in, that it's actually quite the opposite, right?
Going from the military, structured, you have to wake up, you have to report to somebody for muster. Yeah. You have to, you are not only responsible to people, but you're responsible for people. Not only are you having to stay in, peak physical condition, but, you can't go get DUIs, or, you can't go do drugs because you're about to get tested,
Yeah.
So there's these standards that you have to uphold. There's missions. There's specific targets. All of the time, there are specific targets.
Yeah.
When you lose that structure that you are used to, and you're not used to creating that own structure for yourself, that requires responsibility and discipline, right?
Agree, man.
And I think the military instills that in us. It gives us the tools to show up, to work hard, to embrace teamwork and discipline and grit and resilience, right?
Yeah, agree.
But when you experience freedom for the first time, you will be tested. And if you're not prepared to step into a higher level of responsibility with your level of freedom, it's going to be unsustainable.
So good. I agree wholeheartedly, man. I agree.
And look, man, I actually had targets. I got out because I was building a commercial real estate portfolio. I was helping build now what is the premier military real estate investing education community, active duty passive income, where we've helped thousands and thousands of service members create wealth through like our academies and masterminds. The biggest annual event for military investors, we host that. It's the military RE Icon. And so I had all these different targets, but I just didn't have enough responsibility to handle the level of freedom and stay on target and stay on mission. And I went through a dark time, man. Learned a lot of hard lessons.
You wrote one sentence on the intake that, and you admitted this earlier too, that I keep coming back to. It's probably one of the cleanest confessions you could possibly make. With freedom comes responsibility, and my level of personal responsibility did not align with the freedom I'd had, right? Again, that is like a very clear confession, admission, and as well as ownership as well of what happened, right? So take us to a specific moment in that season, not the summary, not the headlines, but a very specific scene. Take us to that moment, man. What drove that?
I honestly think that it was my. There are a lot of factors, but my moral compass was off. And I'll say this, like my whole why for getting into real estate in the first place, because I wanted financial and worldly wealth and possessions.
Yeah.
I was driven by more money. I was driven by the things, wanting houses, different houses in different parts of the world, and wanting to just take lavish vacations. And of course, I knew that would like give me the freedom, so I didn't have to like work a 9 to 5, But my moral compass was off, and I was doing it for my own selfish desires. And when I had the level of freedom, I was really embellishing on those selfish desires. I traveled a lot, and I wasn't focused. And I wasn't focused on what was in front of me. I wasn't focused on adding more value to more people. I was focused on my own selfish desires. And that poured heavily into my marriage. And I wasn't showing up in the way I should have. And there were, a lot of other, factors why the relationship ended the way it did, but it led to a divorce. Led to a really dark, ugly time in my life. And it was the time where I had all this freedom. I had more abundance and more money than I ever thought I would. But I didn't have enough responsibility, and I was depressed. I had anxiety. I was isolating myself. And I made a lot of irrational decisions because my moral compass was off. And, the turning point for me was when I remembered, that I connected with some men in the Navy that were godly men. And they taught me to pursue a relationship with God and to get into God's word so you can kind of get closer to him, so you can understand him more. And then you could be obedient to what he wants for your life, because he's in control.
100%. Whether you realize it or not, 100%.
He's in control, man.
Yep.
And so that's when I kind of sort of leaned into my own relationship with God. And,
I love it, man.
And awesome. I was reading his word to like try to understand him more and get closer to him. And I was attending Bible study with men who were godly men and also business owners. And then I started to feel more free. I started to feel, and I started kind of like, my moral compass was back to where it should have been the whole time. And that's when I made a lot of pivots. I moved to Tampa. I met my now wife, who was, a gift from God. And with her and I, we were able to build something very, very special. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. So we've only been married for a year.
Awesome. Congratulations, man.
And it was just like, but now, I just have reached even higher levels of freedom in such a short period of time, because like once you already have the mindset, you've already proven that you could, achieve a level of freedom. Once you already have the skills and you have the relationships and the people around you, you don't just like lose all of that. So the cool thing, if you're not relying on a job or an employer, like you skill up, you have the ability and capability to rebuild it all from zero, and I was very, very thankful for that. And now it's just like every day I resurrender my life and my finances and my future to God, because he's in control. Like I give him all that. Like when I wake up in the morning, it's my holy hour. I pray and then I read the Bible, and now it's all about him. And that's awesome. That was a huge pivot for me, and the reason why I was able to now achieve that level of freedom. And now I think he's testing me, with this level of freedom, now that I have, and so now I'm going to use it well, and now I think I have the level of responsibility to handle it.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing a glimpse into that. We only have a short period of time together, fortunately and unfortunately at the same time, because I feel there's so much more that we can learn from you. But I know I mentioned this just before we hit the record button, but those of you that are not watching this on YouTube or watching videos of this, he's got a sign behind it says discipline equals freedom, right? And how ironic are we talking about this with that sign in clear display? Discipline does equal freedom, right? But it also comes with great responsibility, And to that point, man, this really it just reinstills how important it is to stay disciplined, even when you start to develop momentum, even when you start to gain success, because it is so easy to deviate off course, get seduced by this, and do things that you shouldn't be doing, right? Whether you're immoral, your compass is off track, or you just coasting or whatever. This is why celebrities and people that we all, I say, view as successful are the most miserable people on the planet, right? Because they don't have any direction. They don't have any true compass. They don't have anything that is truly that you're chasing, especially a relationship with God. And if I heard correctly, that was your pivotal moment, was giving up control, right?
100%, man. I did. And I want to be very, very clear. Don't think about discipline. That word, I think there's a stigma,
There is. I was just going to say that, man.
There's a bad stigma that discipline is restriction or punishment. It's literally the structure that gives you access to the life you actually want.
Yes.
When you stay disciplined with your body, you get freedom of energy, confidence, strength, longevity, vitality.
Yeah.
When you stay disciplined with your money, you get freedom of options, ownership, wealth accumulation, the ability to protect and preside for your family. And when you stay disciplined with your faith, you get freedom from drifting. I'm so scared of right now, but I fear God more than I fear that. And so I'm staying disciplined with my faith so I could have, so I stay disciplined. I get freedom from the ego, from the fear, from the spiritual laziness.
Yeah.
When you stay disciplined with your marriage, and your family, you get freedom to lead, to love, to provide, and build a legacy with the ones that you love. Whatever you're doing in your life, and there's different facets of our life. And kind of just to give you a under the hood cover, I have 5 assets or factors of life, my 5 life arenas that I have goals. What is the one thing? And they actually spell out the acronym GROWS, GROWS. God is the number 1. So I create goals around God. R, Ramya, my relationship. That's my wife. O is my occupation, my investing, my coaching. What am I doing for work to add value in this world?
Yeah.
W is my wealth. What am I doing for my long-term wealth? And then S is my strength, my vitality, my physical strength, and my fitness and nutrition. So I have to stay disciplined. What is the one thing I need to do this week and stay disciplined on it to move my life forward in those 5 areas? So it's discipline for me is how do I become the man who could be trusted with the freedom that I keep asking God for?
Mm-hmm.
Without discipline, it becomes chaos, man. At least for me.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's true for everybody. I don't think that's just, to you. I think that's with everybody. And that's what's ironic. We pray for these things, or we wish these things, or we put this stuff out into the universe. But, when we start to, experience some of this, we're not capable of handling it, right? We're not responsible enough to handle this. And this is why people constantly hit the ceiling, whatever that ceiling is, right? Ceiling either in their income, the ceiling in their relationships, ceiling in their businesses, ceiling in their health, even. And I have experienced that throughout my life several times. My health, finances, businesses, all those different things, because we want X, right? But what we hold ourselves to, or the standard we hold ourselves to, reflect completely different, because we're not yet ready for that kind of responsibility, whether it's, again, in our finances, in our business, in relationships, or health, or anything of nature, or even spiritually. That's the other aspect of that. It really does come down doing the work consistently every single day, whether you feel like it or not, whether you had a great day, and it's I don't have to do anything today. That is the exact day you got to lock in, right? That is the exact day you got to go to the gym. That is the exact day you got to stay disciplined. We don't have to do it because, well, nobody tells you have to do it, or because now you've got money sitting in a bank and now you feel like coasting and taking it easy. To your point, you said earlier, that is just the universe, God testing you. 100%.
Karl, the only thing on my calendar today that I obligated myself to, or that I committed to, was this podcast with you.
Man, I'm so honored.
And then one more coaching session later on, working with a commercial real estate investor, and he's going from residential to commercial. So we're helping him with the mindset and the tactical implementation of how to get into apartment investing. So that's all I have. But I was up at 5 a.m. because I have to do it at holy hour. I have to move my body. Today was upper body strength, followed by core, followed by breath work in front of a red light, followed by stretching. Followed by a cold shower.
Love it, man.
All that. Plus, I did about 2 hours of deep work on my own personal brand and authority. Because that matters for what I am doing, and the way God gave me a gift to help other people reach new heights and next level. And your brand 100%. And your authority matters, right?
Especially in today's times, man.
Dude. So I did all this before our session today. It started if you're listening, it started at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah. I didn't have to do any of that. I could have woke up at 10:30.
That's right.
Jump in the shower and just come right on this podcast. But you think I'd show up in the same way if that's what I did?
No.
And I'm here for you. I'm here to deliver value. If you are listening, discipline creates freedom.
It does.
But freedom is not doing whatever you want, wherever you want. But I've learned that that kind of freedom turns into chaos. If you think of freedom as I'm just going to go anywhere I want, with whoever I want, whenever I want, on my own terms, that all sounds great.
It does.
Right?
It does.
If you don't train your body, you're going to lose energy. If you don't manage your money, you're going to lose options. If you don't control your calendar, somebody else is going to fill your calendar for you.
Oh, 100%, dude.
If you don't master your emotions and learn how to regulate your emotions and release trauma and release your emotions, that's something I'm a student of right now, is learning how to
I'm here with you.
Release traumas and process emotion. No one teaches us how to
how
to respond and react, Karl. Men, we have egos. We hold things in. We don't we don't express our emotions, right?
Nope.
But our family needs us to be able to do that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Man, thank you so much for saying it loud, because, especially for us fellas, that's a hard one for us, is to go down that road, to, talk about all these different things, because for the longest part of my life, man, emotions was one of the biggest demons of my life, controlling them and, not just controlling them, but be emotionally available for others. Right. For a large part of my life, I found myself emotionally closed off to people, not because I didn't want to be emotional to them, but because I was protecting myself. At least I thought, right? That was the perception, that I was protecting myself, or maybe protecting them. Right. But unfortunately, led to near catastrophic events. As I'm sure you can imagine, you're prior military. I'm sure you made some deployments, right? So it went nowhere fast. So real quick before we keep rolling, maybe life hit you hard. Business fell apart. Career isn't working out. Relationship ended. Health took a dive. And now you're staying in the rubble trying to figure out what the next move even looks like. Or maybe nothing blew up at all. On paper, you're winning, sure. But on the inside, something's off. If you're not in crisis, you're at a crossroads. And the playbook that built the life you have is not the playbook that builds the one you want. Either way, You're stuck. Not broken, stuck. Between who you were and who you're becoming. Most self-help just piles more weight on the load you're already carrying. I do not want to do that. I put together a free video series called The Grit Code Exposed, and I want to invite you to check it out. 7 short videos, that's it. The 5 laws that change everything for me and every client I coach. The same 5 that every person who's ever come back from the fire has walked through, whether they had a name for it or not. No fluff, no 90-minute webinar, no bait, just the free video series. You can start it tonight. Grab it at gritcodeexposed.com. One more time, gritcodeexposed.com. It's free. You don't need any more hustle. You need the next version, and this is how you find it. Check it out. See if it speaks to you, and if it does, I'll see you on the inside. All right, let's get back to the conversation. But man, let's pivot a little bit because I want to start getting into some meat of what you're doing today. But before you left the Navy, you said you're blessed to be introduced to the men who encouraged you to get into God's Word and pursue a personal relationship with Him. That was an introduction that did not happen by accident, right? Walk us to it. Who were those men? Where was that conversation? What was the moment you decided to actually open up the book and dive in instead of just nodding away, man?
Yeah.
What shifted for you between that version that you were previously to who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, before we kind of dive into that, I think it will be helpful to understand, where everybody has their own spiritual journey.
Yep. 100%.
And I grew up getting my sacraments like the Catholic sacraments. I got baptized when I was born. I got my first communion. I got reconciliation, confirmation, and I went through those as just kind of checking the box, But
yep, I'm with you.
We never, when I grew up, I never was around a family or never even thought about the whole idea of let's actually go to church regularly. Let's actually get into God's Word to really explore what that means, and let's build a relationship with Him. And I never even thought of that whole concept, right? And so I had the sacraments, and I was blessed by Him. I was baptized and all that, but never once did I pursue Him, and I was blessed to come into contact with these men at my last duty station before I left the Navy, who were I was in the chief's mess in the Navy, and these men met every single week for lunch. They would go out, and it would be basically like a mini men's group. Iron sharpens iron. Let's talk about God's Word. Let's help each other out. Let's help each other in our own spiritual journeys. I'm like, this is interesting. And then they did Bible studies once a week on Zoom. Everybody from their own home. We just did Bible studies on Zoom where we had to read a portion of a chapter, and then we talk about it and what that actually meant and what called out to us and how we interpret it. And so then I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. These are profound characters in the Bible. These are pretty interesting stories. And then I realized all the personal and professional development books that I read, and I was obsessed with personal professional development. That I think helped me get to the level of freedom. All the mindset books, all the psychology books, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People, the 10X, all the mindset books. Discipline Equals Freedom is straight from Extreme Ownership by Jacobi, right? Yep. That book, again, it's mindset. And then I realized all of these books are literally just rewording lessons from this Bible.
That's true.
All
That's
these
so true.
personal professional development lessons are coming from the Bible. That's where they've started. That's like God created those lessons. Jesus spoke those lessons to his disciples. His disciples were reiterating these lessons. They were speaking them. They were promoting them, you know. And so the Bible is the best personal professional development book on the planet. And if I didn't read any books, if I only read one book, that's the book that I read every single morning. You know, I'm switching up Second Kings right now, where I learn all the different kings of Israel and which ones were following God and which ones weren't, which ones were making mistakes and which ones weren't, which one ruled without getting killed and slaughtered by another random, like, you know, nearby community. Like, and so I had this whole idea. I was pursuing him, and, you know, and I was really trying hard to build a relationship with him, but my now ex, she was not on the same page. She wasn't really, you know, a believer. She didn't really want to go to church with me. We didn't really talk about it. And that is another thing that kind of drove a wedge into our marriage. We couldn't like open up and have those conversations. And so I lost a lot of that momentum, which led to the divorce and all this stuff. And so, but the minute I realized that all these things I'm taking on my own shoulders, the darkness that I'm in, I had all this guilt and like all this, like, woe is me. I was like a victim. Like, I could just give it all to him. Like,
true.
You know, true. I could just give it all to him. And that's when I got back into God's word and started going to church regularly again and found local areas, men in this area where now I'm going regularly each week to meet with them, and each month where I'm like more participating and giving my time to the church. And that's when I was the type of person that my now wife was ready for. And so
that's awesome,
you have to grow into the person that you want. If you're looking for love, if you're looking for a relationship, you have to grow into the person that the person you want wants.
That's true.
You know, and that's, and I wasn't ready until I got to a certain level in my spiritual journey. Right. And that's, that was a huge turning point for me. But I just, if I never had that conversation with those men while I was active duty, I don't know where I would be right now.
What you were talking about with the weekly meetings and so forth. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but I've talked about this quite a bit. It's called The Forge by the Kendrick brothers. Amazing movie, as well as all the other movies they've produced. Have you seen that?
No, I'm writing it down right now. I'm taking notes. Just
it's a great movie, man. I know you get a lot of value from it. Anybody that's watching and listening, check out the movie. It's by the Kendrick brothers.
Sweet.
But it reminded me exactly that, right? Men coming together, iron sharpening iron. There was a scene, I'm not going to give away, but there was a scene in there that really just put that on display full effect. It's like, but thanks for sharing it, because oftentimes it is that moment, right, when we're faced by our peers. I say faced by our peers. We come to our peers, and that's when we pivot into a different direction in terms of our growth and so forth. And I'm also of the belief, and I think you believe the same thing, it is our environment that dictates how we grow, right? Either we surround ourselves who are either ahead of us, preferably ahead of us, or, right at our shoulders, that are chasing spiritual growth, that are chasing wealth, that are chasing growth in every aspect of their life, right? And then, of course, having people that you could pull along with you. And I've been in environments, I've had to do a big detox several years ago of people that I realized, man, once I became aware, right? And it's ironic, man, once you become aware of your environment and realize the toxicity, the negativity, and just the mindset, man, it's like, ugh, I mean, it's really, it's like, ugh.
Karl, I mean, nothing dictates your success more than the people you spend time with.
Agree with.
And
100%.
you won't just accidentally fall into rooms full of people who are achievers, who are
Nope.
strivers, who have already
Nope.
accomplished the things that you want to accomplish. You have to be very intentional about finding those rooms and getting into those rooms. And oftentimes there's a fee, you have to pay a price, a financial fee to get into those rooms. There's networking events, there's free, you could probably look up, let's say if you're, in real estate or whatever, you're trying to buy properties, you're trying to get into residential or commercial real estate. There's a monthly real estate investing meetup probably in your city, wherever you're located.
There is.
And then you can probably go to the first one for free. But then if you want to keep going, you have to pay a monthly fee.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? If you want to join a real mastermind of people who have already accomplished what you are looking to accomplish, there's going to be a fee. It's not like you'll accidentally just find those people. You have to be very intentional about it. You have to be willing to invest in yourself and your future, And a lot of people are not willing to do that. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just do it on my own. Look, you cannot succeed in isolation.
Exactly. I agree wholeheartedly, man. Isn't it ironic how people can say that? But you look at anybody that we view as successful, they have mentors, they have advisors, they have coaches, they have people around them that's pouring into them, right? So yeah, that's an interesting point, because I'll admit, for a large part of my life, I didn't believe in coaching. I didn't believe in mentors. So I didn't have it. I come from a broken home, and I had no sense of direction. I thought if you were successful, it's because Gandalf put the nod, it gave you the nod, like, hey, you're going to be successful. It's in your bloodline. I thought that was just my belief, and it didn't help that my mother, for a large part of my young life, instilled that. Karl, you never be successful. You never, right? And so that was my belief for so long, and it was so hard to shed that. And sometimes, man, it still hits me. It still hits me. And so to the people right now that are listening to you talking, about investing in yourself, I'm of the belief, and I think you would agree, and I think this is what you're alluding to, that is the ultimate the best investment you could put is in yourself. Right? Put yourself in those bigger rooms. And because, unfortunately, I've been around people, I've had to shed myself of that skin too, who just want to absorb the free stuff. Right? They just wanted all the free stuff. But are you really getting value on the free stuff?
You know how there's this thing that has gone around. It's like, hey, knowledge is power. Well, knowledge is potential power, right? Because education without action is useless.
So good.
Education without action is useless. And education without actual implementation is useless. But here's the thing. Implementation without the right guidance is expensive and dangerous.
You got that right.
And a lot of people are afraid to make those mistakes. They're afraid to take action because they're in fear of making mistakes, but they're not willing to get into the rooms to help prevent those mistakes. And look, they think about the cost. Oh, I don't want to, pay $1,000 to go to this seminar or to be in the right rooms or to rub shoulders with the people. And they think about the cost. Okay. The cost of inaction, the cost of doing nothing is way more expensive than the cost of making a mistake. Agree,
man. Agree.
Think about what is the cost of doing nothing and then staying in that same position? Yeah. Where are you going to be in 6 months? Where are you going to be in 12 months?
Yeah.
And the biggest reason why people are afraid to go after that big goal, even if they have a deep rooted why, is because it requires some level of change, Karl.
Agree.
Change is hard for people, man.
It is.
We're sitting here today as a result of, all the people, of course, we have spent time with, just like we said, they inevitably will affect you. We're sitting here as a result of all the things we've learned, like all the training, the education that we've gotten, the skills that we've gotten. And then lastly, we're sitting here today as a result of all the decisions that we've made up until today. But if we want to change our future if we want to change or accomplish something different, accomplish something real, like make a big impact, if we keep doing the same things, if we keep making the same decisions, if we keep learning the same things, if we keep hanging around the same people and expect to just get that thing, that's the definition of insanity, right? So we have to change the people we spend time with. We have to change the things we learn. We have to change our decision-making process.
Agree.
And that's the change that's hard for some people, just to step into those environments, learn new things, and learn a different mindset of making decisions. That's literally the key that will unlock your next level, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I'll tell you that, correct. Like being a high performance coach, I really get to help high performers who've already achieved a certain level of success get to that next level, because they've gotten to where they're at by hanging out with certain people, by learning certain things, by making certain decisions. If they want to get to that next level, they got to change. And 3 reasons why the high performers, maybe this applies to you right now, is, that why they stay stuck, why you might be stuck right now, is because you confuse activity with progress. Number 1. Right? Number 2, you're chasing like perfection. Mm-hmm. Like you need to have 100% understanding of what that next level looks like, other than just getting momentum and getting started. And lastly, the third thing, the biggest reason why you might be staying stuck right now, why you're not getting to the next level, why you might feel like you have a glass ceiling above you, is because you're measuring yourself against where you think you need to be versus measuring what you've already accomplished. Okay. You're measuring yourself. You're comparing yourself to either other people where they're at in their journey, which is very unfair, or you're measuring yourself and you're comparing yourself to where you think you need to be. Oh, I'm 25 or I'm 35 or I'm 45, whatever it is. I think I should be at this point. Look at that 45-year-old. He's got this and this and this. It's the absolute worst thing you could do, regardless of what level you're at, right? You only should be measuring yourself against where you were yesterday.
Agree.
6 months ago, 12 months ago.
Yes. But I think this is I think this is the downfall for a lot of people. I mean, look around, right? Social media, I think, is probably one of the biggest vehicles for this. Right? Because people get on Instagram or whatever platform of choice and they start comparing themselves, right? They look at, the Joneses next door brand new Mercedes or the house or the sales or all these different things. And they start, immediately like, well, man, what's wrong with me? Because I can't have that. To your point, aren't you screwing yourself because you're comparing yourself to somebody else? You're probably a lot more competent in your specific area than that person is in your area, right? It's so good, man. Comparing yourself. I hear this a lot. I want to hear your take on this. Comparison is the thief of joy. What is your take on that, man? Because that is so just touted around, but I think that's taken out of context. What do you?
No, I mean, realistically, it's what we're talking about, because if you're not counting your wins, if you're not recognizing how far you've come, you're constantly looking at that next level or comparing yourself to other people, you're not going to be happy with where you're at. There won't be a level of fulfillment to keep you going, to keep you happy. That next thing is that next thing. And once you hit that next thing, you're going to always be looking at that next thing and comparing yourself to the next person.
That's true. That's true.
It's a thief of joy, because if we're not doing this to have a level of joy, why are you doing this?
So true, man.
Measure your wins. Consider your wins daily, even write them down and journal. What did I accomplish today? Where did I help someone today? But a lot of people are just thinking about, what didn't I accomplish, or where did I fall short? Sure, you need to understand those and assess those so you could improve and get better. But these are lessons learned. This is not how you label yourself. The most successful people have failed more than anybody else, man. They just
Agree.
kept going. They're like, all right, sweet. I just learned that mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Yep.
You wake up the next day and you go figure it out, right?
Yep.
You just keep moving forward. Soldier on. That's it.
Yep. Soldier on. That's right. Well, I mean, why do we fall? Right? So we can get up again, right?
If you're not falling, you're not learning the mistakes, you know?
Agree.
Again, this goes back to like the whole mentorship and iron sharpens iron. Like smart people are going to learn from their own mistakes, but geniuses learn from other people's mistakes.
That is true.
Being around people who have already done what you're trying to do, who actually care about you, want to see you succeed. They like, I'm telling you, man, you know this, I know this. The people who have achieved a great deal of success have gotten there because they worked with coaches and mentors who helped them, who picked them up. So the people who are the most successful in your industry, if you go try to like take them out to lunch or try to buy them coffee, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be happy to do that.
Yes.
And they're going to be happy to extend their lessons learned over to you.
Yeah.
And help you any way that they can. But most people are not bold enough to ask.
You're right. 100%, man. And, honestly, dude, for anybody that's watching and listening, if you didn't get anything out of this freaking episode, which that would be stupid if you didn't. I mean, so much freaking gold here on this episode. But if you didn't get anything out of this, do what this Tim just talked about, man. Freaking go offer this person that you look up to, that you view as successful, anybody that is in a higher level than you, go offer to buy that person a cup of coffee or a beer, whatever, and sit down and open your ears. Open your ears and just absorb like a freaking sponge, and do not be afraid to invest. Whether it's time,
I said something earlier, Karl. I said you can't succeed in isolation, right? Which is you got to go out there. But here's the thing. Before you go do that, this is where you need to isolate yourself. Okay. You need to put the work in. You need to like educate yourself and train. So before you even go try to reach out, before you even start marching up a ladder that might actually be leaned against the wrong wall altogether, run a simple high performer gap audit. And it's very simple. You're going to take 3 different areas and you're going to score yourself from 1 to 10. Right now, the most important is clarity. And ask yourself, am I clear on who I am, where I'm going, and what actually matters right now? Like, what is my why? Like, where am I? Like, who am I? What do I bring to the table? And why is that important to me? And what do I need? Like, get clarity around that and assess yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. That's it. Just assess yourself from 1 to 10. That's clarity. Second is your energy. Like, how much physical, mental stamina do I have right now to pursue what matters? Now, once you're clear on that, that should give you energy in and of itself. But
agree.
How much energy do you have right now, physical and mental energy, to actually pursue what matters to you? And then third is your courage. Okay. This is huge. What conversation, decision, or commitment have you been avoiding? Most, honestly, like, I work with a lot of high performing, like, real estate investors, entrepreneurs, CEOs. They're very courageous in their work, what they do, the decisions they make, the negotiations that they're in, but they're not courageous where it matters with their loved ones,
agree,
family. And there's 9 times out of 10, whether it's their spouse, their parents, their siblings, like people in their immediate circle of love, they're usually avoiding a conversation with one of them.
Yep.
They don't have the
100%.
courage. They don't have the courage to have those deep conversations, but they'll go do multi-million-dollar deals. They'll level up in work and professionalism.
Why is that? Why do you believe that? That I agree. I struggle with that for so long, right? You know, my wife and I have been married for 26 years in a few months. And I know a lot of people can resonate with this. I've had conversations with people of the same type, not just with our spouses, but our the kids and other people in our lives. But I want to hear hear your input on this. Why do you believe that is the case? Well, what leads to that?
Yeah. Because we all have our own definition of freedom and success. Very few high performers are able to maintain high levels of success, like in their mind, financial work, while maintaining their well-being and relationships. And that's just not how we're programmed. That's just not what we're ever taught,
It's true.
We're taught to work for somebody else so we could have enough money one day to hopefully enjoy it and retire.
Hopefully.
But we have this, everybody has their own definition of success and freedom. So if you're listening, ask yourself, how do you define success and why is that important? How do you define freedom and how is that important? Obviously, make sure you have the level of responsibility to handle that freedom. But then what is your why? That clarity is the first thing you need to do. Audit yourself on who am I? What do I do? What value do I bring to the table? And what do I really need to get to the next level? That'll dictate your next move and why it's important. That'll dictate your energy. That'll dictate your courage. Because most of us are doing this for our families. So we could protect our families and provide for our families and give more. Give more. The most successful people are some of the most generous entrepreneurs, most generous philanthropists that I've ever met. But they're working so hard that they forget about their health and their relationships and their joy. And that's what I love doing. I love breaking all this down because you've already reached a certain level of success, but where are you really falling short that's going to make your success unsustainable? And it's usually having those tough conversations and having courage to do that and maintaining your well-being and your energy, not sacrificing your health and your mindset just to go get another $1,000 that month,
Yep. I agree, man. No, this is good stuff, man. This is good stuff. Well, man, dude, fast forward to today, Tampa, right out the road for me. So you and I got a jam in person now. But Killa Housing Group, with all the growth that it's going there, ADPI, is helping more families than ever, as you're so passionate about. You're coaching high performers like myself. You're speaking, you're doing all of these amazing things, my dude. Before we hit record, you're just talking about some other breakthroughs. So just tell me and everybody else, what are you so fired up about right now? What are you most fired up about in this season of life you're in?
Yeah. Helping high performers who have already achieved a level of success break through to get more clarity, more energy, more courage, through challenge, through adventures, and through elite level one-on-one coaching. And I led a group to summit Mount Kilimanjaro back in February, and we already have 3 more adventure bucket list type locations
That's awesome, man,
for the next 12 months. And it's a whole coaching journey where we have weekly sessions leading up to the summit. When you're on a summit, when you're doing something very physically hard and demanding, you are inevitably going to build very deep relationships with each other because you're going to get very vulnerable, very open. Yep. You're going to express emotions. A lot of emotions are going to come out. We all left something at the top of the mountain that was no longer serving us. We had 6 weekly sessions afterwards to reintegrate, to continue building our relationships. Now we're all besties. We still have our WhatsApp group going, and we're already talking about the next adventure that we're planning.
That's awesome.
And so I'm super excited because I have the level of freedom where I could just go travel and do bucket list adventures, but now I get to take other people on those bucket list adventures, but not only just for fun and for an adventure, but to really break through to the next level of clarity and energy and courage in their lives. So they can add more value to the people that matter.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that, dude. Real quick before you go, if you're still with me this deep into the episode, something in it hit you. Maybe it was the guest. Maybe it was one line. Either way, you're still here. And that feeling in your chest right now, that's the signal. Most people get a signal like that and do absolutely nothing with it. They close the app, life rushes back in, the moment's gone. 6 months later, they're in the exact same spot. I don't want that for you. So I put something together. I want to invite you to check out a free video series called The Grit Code Exposed. 7 short videos, the 5 laws I walk every client through. The same ones that rebuilt me when everything else fell apart. And if you listen closely today, you heard them running underneath the entire conversation. Because everyone who's come back from the fire walks through these 5 laws. Some find them on their own, some get help, but the laws don't change. Free video series. You can start it tonight. No fluff, no 90-minute webinar, just the series. And if you're going to do something with what you heard today, do this before life talks you out of it. Go to gritcodeexposed.com. One more time, gritcodeexposed.com. And hey, before I let you go, thank you for riding with me this long. It means a lot more than you know. Thank you. I can hear your passion, enthusiasm, as you're talking about this. And guys, if you're only listening on audio, you got to check it out because you can just feel it, right? You can just feel his passion, enthusiasm. You can see it in video. Man, I know we could jam for a lot longer on this, but we both have to, we have commitments after this. Well, I do, but as we start to close, man, I'd like to give every person just a quick 60 seconds to give them a chance to talk to the version of themselves they were 20 years ago, as though, there's another Tim out there that's listening to you right now, right? You said this numerous times. You cannot succeed in isolation. I want you to talk to this Tim 20 years ago, or any Tims out there. Look in the camera like you're talking to this person, and tell them, what would you tell them now if you knew then? How would you coach this person? What would you tell this person? What does being you cannot succeed in isolation alone mean?
So you do and I'm glad we took a pause to talk about in isolation, what's important is doing the education and training so you can learn the language or whatever you want to skill up and do or become. There's a language that you have to learn. And right now, all the information is literally free online. You could read books, you could, invest books. You could look it up on YouTube. You could look it up on any AI, whatever AI platform you want could break down and give you all the education and knowledge that you would ever want. But knowledge without implementation is useless, right? And when you want to go implement, that's where you cannot isolate yourself. That's where you have to intentionally find people who have already accomplished what you were trying to accomplish and who are willing to help you get to the next level, and they actually genuinely care about you. And you got to work more to save up, to invest in yourself, to put yourself in those rooms. That investment will give you the highest return on investment, the highest return on your time invested, and the highest return on joy. Agree
wholeheartedly. There's never been, and I think you can resonate 100% with this, there's never been a time where I've invested to get myself into a bigger room that didn't yield 10x.
Absolutely, man.
Never.
Don't be stuck on the cost, because the cost of inaction, the cost of doing nothing is a lot more expensive. Okay.
I heard this. You're in Tampa. So is Myron Goldham. I love him to death. What he said, I saw a video of his. It stopped me cold, and it really changed my perspective of how I look at costs. I mean, I already had this perspective, but the way he put it out there, he said, well, when people ask him about the cost of X, he's like, I'm sorry, I'm confused. The cost of what? Of not moving forward, right? the divorce, the business pivot, or whatever those things are, the cost of inaction, is that the cost you're talking about? Or are you talking about the investment to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that this, when I heard him say it in that way, I mean, subconsciously, like I said, for several years, I've changed my perspective to look at it like that way, because I've been in I've been in those shoes. And my first time writing a check, it was Ben Newman. I think you know who Ben Newman is. I retained him to get in some masterminds and to retain him for some coaching. And man, that was scary, man. Palms sweaty, heart racing. But man, that was probably the best experience. And then ever since then, I've been addicted to get into bigger rooms, to get into bigger environments, to get into bigger thinking people. That's where it's at, man. It really is. And I know there's the scarcity mindset of people that are looking at that like, well, I just don't know. Okay.
I mean, dude, like I like if I did not invest $30,000 in Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad real estate education program, I would still probably be floating in the middle of the Persian Gulf on a deployment right now. But I had a conversation with someone who helped me realize this exact thing. If I just kept trying to figure it out on my own, I'm going to keep going down this path. And I didn't want to stay in the Navy for another 10 years. I needed to get out. I needed to find that level of freedom. And if I didn't invest, I invested $30K that I didn't even have. It took 4 different credit cards to do that.
Yeah.
I think
that's what it takes.
Putting yourself in a position where it's like, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to fail, versus like getting a bunch of free information where you're not really invested. That's a complete mindset shift.
It is.
When you're actually invested in something, that's when you start taking it seriously. That's when you're like, all right, I just invested $30K in this mentorship, and it's like do or die type of deal. And I put myself in that position, so I just didn't have I sort of had to make it work so I could close my first deal, get that acquisition fee, pay off all those credit cards, and then I have the skills forever. I never lost those skills. I was able to literally rebuild it for the second time. And dude, I'm just so thankful for that conversation that I had. So if you have had that conversation, if you're about to have that conversation, don't be afraid to level up. Don't think you could do it on your own. If you're okay with mediocrity and like having an average life, you could probably figure that out on your own, right? You could probably do just fine. But if you want real freedom, if you want real options, and you're looking to find other people who have already accomplished what you've done, invest in yourself and step into the rooms and just follow the process and trust.
Follow the process
and just get after it, man. And whatever if you think you're failing, if you think you're going through hell, good, keep going because you're on the right path.
100%, man.
That means you're being stretched. That means God is putting you in this situation for a reason, because it's growth. You grow through those. These are lessons. Failures. Just remove that definition from your vocabulary. Like remove that word. These are you either win or you learn. There's no failure.
That's true. That is so true. That's a good perspective right there. Good perspective shit. All right, man. As we wrap up, I got some rapid fire questions. Man, so much gold in this episode, guys. So in this season of life, you're building and you're being way more intentional with your time. What does grit mean to you in this season, man?
I mean, that grit is leading into the discipline to ensure my level of responsibility matches my level of freedom that I have right now. And I have a dangerous amount of freedom. I really, really do. But I need to maintain a level of responsibility, and I got to get disciplined. I got to stay gritty. I have to keep giving it to God, because right now Satan and the devil, the enemy, is pulling me in all. He's planting some thoughts in my brain right now. There's temptations out there, and
certainly is.
Spiritual warfare is real, and I don't want to keep bringing up God and the spirituality, but the more you pursue Him,
hey man,
prepare. Because the more you pursue Him, the more spiritual warfare you're going to feel, because Satan could go after a lot of different people, but most people don't pursue God. Satan could easily just get them down the wrong path. But he has to try really, really hard to divert people, to have people slowly drift in their marriage, drift in their financial world. He works really, really hard if you're pursuing God, if you're pursuing Jesus, if you're, if you have a men's group, if you're going to Bible study, like there's more spiritual warfare in that environment than there is if you have no relationship with God, because those people are an easy kill for the enemy.
Yep. 100%, man. So true, man. So true. All right. Last two questions, both of these that I've prepared you for in the green room. When you're in the trenches, man, whether it's in a moment or maybe you're just going through a very, very tough season, what is a quote or directive or scripture even that you use to pull yourself out of the trenches in that season or in that moment of darkness?
I mean, I told you the best personal development, personal and professional development book on the planet is the Bible. And I literally have this quote. It's a Bible verse plastered on my wall. Right next door is my home gym, a huge gym, and I have literally Bible verses all over each wall. And the one I put up first was Joshua, Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And it's, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I give it to him, man. I don't stress out. I surrender every single day to him. Whatever's going on in my family, whatever's going on with me personally, I give it to him. And I ask for guidance. I pray and I give it to him. And it's a reminder that he's with me. He's right here.
Yeah.
And he's right there with you too, whether you think so or not. He's right there, willing to help, willing to listen, willing to be your moral compass, like I needed him to be. And that's probably the first thing that came up when you asked me that question.
Awesome, man. That's so true. It aligns with something I repeatedly tell myself, as well as one of my coaches, when I kind of get flustered on things, like, dude, focus on the controllables. Thoughts, actions, beliefs. Leave the rest to God. I'm like, yep, I got you. Focus on the controllables, man, and leave the rest to him. So at the end of the day, that's all you can do.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. This last question comes in two parts. Before I give you my previous guest her question, because sometimes I overlook it. Those are listening or watching, I love to give my guest, if you're listening for the first time, an opportunity to ask my future guest a challenge of their own. And the lineup is completely anonymous. So it's not like I told Tim in the green room, hey, my next guest is X or anything, so he could do his research. No, it's completely anonymous. So my dude, Tim, what would you love to challenge my next guest with? What kind of question would you want to ask him or her?
I think I want to go back to the high performer gap audit, that very, very first question. I'm talking about some very successful people that I know. They're not clear. They don't have this level of clarity. So for that person and for you listening, I'm already going to give it to you again, right? Rate yourself from 1 to 10. How clear am I about who I am? What do I do? What value do I bring to the world? And what do I need to get to my next level? Answer all those questions, right? And get really, really clear on those. And just rate yourself on 1 to 10. Where are you in that? And if you're not an 8, then
you have work to do.
Put a little bit more work into figuring out who you are, what you do, what value you bring to the table, and what you need to get to the next level. But mostly, if you're not at an 8, go 7 layers deep on why is all that important to you. 7 layers deep of your why. If you don't know your why, you need to figure that out. You need to figure out your why before you even start climbing up a ladder that's leaned completely against the wrong wall, like I said earlier. You might be working so hard in the completely wrong direction where you're not really aligned with your purpose or why God put you on this planet in the first place. Figure out and get clear on what I just shared you with, and figure out your why. Go 7 layers deep. Well, why is this important to you? Why is that important to you? Well, why? Why is it like go 7 layers deep with yourself? Figure out your why. And if it's not emotional, if it doesn't make you emotional,
you're not gone deep enough.
You haven't gone deep enough, man.
Agree, man. Agree. So good. All right. My previous guest, Mary Khan, had this question for you. Amazing, badass. She loves using humor to get her through seasons of life because she observed for too long that she took life too seriously, which I know for a long time I could resonate with. So her question for you is this. When you're in a moment that really calls for you to dig in with grit, do you do it from a serious perspective, or is there some sense of humor that you try to leverage to help you out of that moment or in that time?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is, man.
I think it really, really, really depends on where that heaviness is coming from,
Yeah.
And for me, my wife, we went through, we got married in the Catholic Church, and it's amazing because you have to go through premarital counseling and you really are forced to open up and really talk about some things that most couples would never even talk about and not even know that about each other before you get married.
Yeah.
So, and we kind of had those conversations and learned a lot about each other through the process, of course. But then the priest said that ended up marrying us. He's like, you guys are polar opposites where, your wife is like serious. She's intense. She's like really committed. And Tim is like cool as a cucumber, super laid back and all that. And I kind of go back to that when we have conflict, when we have, life stressors that are happening. We, went through a really tough time, man. We lost our baby at the end of last year through a miscarriage. And
so sorry
that's
to hear
like
that.
a huge thing. For me, my number one goal is to become a dad. Still haven't been able to be a dad. God hasn't blessed me with kids yet. And that's what we're focused on more than anything else. And so that was tough. That was a struggle big time for both of us. And so I have to just give it to God, and I have to know. And I'm just so thankful that it's just on his time. He's going to bless us with the amount of kids that he wants to have, and
so true.
The more I realize I don't have control of that. It's not my, that's where but to have other people automatically snap into that is not easy. To snap into that level of faith is definitely not easy.
No, it's not, man. I agree. All right, my man. For the person that's listening, and man, they love what you're saying. They want to learn more about the real estate stuff that you got going on or anything that you're doing. Where can they connect with you to learn more about you? Where's the best place to find you, my man?
Yeah. Just go to thetimothykelly.com. You'll connect with all my socials from there. It's actually at the Timothy Kelly on all the socials. LinkedIn is probably the one I'm on more than anything else. Instagram, X, Facebook is always at the Timothy Kelly. But I mean, if this conversation struck a chord with you, and that you're capable of more, you could book a 30-minute clarity call directly on that website with me. It'll kind of take you through an assessment a little bit. It'll give you a lot more understanding of kind of where you're at and where you want to go. And we'll just look on the call at where you're stuck, what's misaligned, and what your next courageous move needs to be.
Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing it. We'll definitely be placing everything on the show notes, man, so people can find you and be able to book that call or, and learn more about the real estate, anything else that you're doing. Because I know you're super successful in the real estate. All right. So unfortunately, this has to come to a close, man. This has been such a great time, my dude. Man, thanks for coming in here not just giving us the highlight reels, not just coming here and just talk about all the amazing success that you had, all the time freedoms, the financial freedoms that you get to enjoy, but allowing us behind the scenes of all the stuff you've had to endure, the darkness you have, the things that you weren't proud of, the things that you endured, and the seasons that you had to go through. Because that, my friend, is oftentimes what is overlooked too many times. And so I honor you for coming here to be vulnerable, and I respect you for doing it. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. I would love to do this again anytime.
Heck
Karl.
yeah. Yeah, man. Absolutely. All right. To those that are listening and watching, the gap between average and excellence is just action, even imperfect action. Listen, guys, don't just listen to Tim. Take one thing he shared today amongst all things he shared. Just take one thing. Could be the clarity audit he talked about, going from 1 to 10. Do something. Use it in the next 24 hours. Also, be the reason someone doesn't quit today. Don't just keep this episode to yourself. Someone in your circle needs this episode right now. Send it to them. Tim, my dude, thank you again for stepping into the arena, my man.
My pleasure, brother. Talk soon.
Yeah, man.